First, let us get our species in order. Our humans, everyone who are fighting and having conflicts and everything. If you want to make this land a pure land, a land where there is no suffering, the only and only way that you can do that is by taking the responsibility of ending somebody's suffering in a little way. And that is why a bodhisattva gets empowers himself by not attaching to any form of sound or form, any sound, any odor, any taste, any touch or thoughts. And because of non-differentiation, because of non-attachment, he is able to treat everybody equally. So namaste and good morning, everyone. On this Sunday, we are again gathered here to study the Diamond Sutra. We're going to study on the chapters 9 and 10. Now as we move forward to study the Diamond Sutra, we would also like to do a recap on what we have done, because there are some times when I'm busy and I cannot catch up with you guys on a Sunday. But every time we come, we will do a quick revision of the sutra itself, and then we will study the 2 chapters on this particular episode. Now we are going to study the Vajrachedika Pragya Paramita Sutra. And the one we have here is the sutra that is translated as it is by our beloved Acharya Nagajiva. This is translated to Chinese long time back from Sanskrit by Tripitaka Acharya Kumarajiv, and was translated to English from Chinese by Acharya Nagajiva. That's our own beloved Dr. Lim. A note here is there is no attempt at interpretation or any explanation of the sutras by the translator. And let's do a quick recap to understand what basically is the setting for the sutra. The first chapter, as it said, was, it begins with, "Thus have I heard." Remember, any authentic sutra will always begin with these words, "Thus have I heard." And it means that these were lecture notes that were taken during the time of the Buddha himself when he was teaching. And at that very moment, these were being taken down and written down and then later compiled. But note-taking was very much an Indian way of recording things. Like now we are recording with in a form of a video. In those days, people and things were recorded, especially the words of spoken people like the Buddha were recorded in the form of a sutra. So here we all know in a setting of the Diamond Sutra, how it all sets up that once upon a time, the Buddha was in Shravasti at Jetavana Grove, Anantapindika Park, with an assembly of 1,250 great monks. And then before mealtime, the Bhagwan put on his robe, holding his bowl, entered the great city of Shravasti from house to house to beg for food. The Bhagwan then returned to the retreat, took his meal, put away the robe and bowl, washed his feet, arranged his seating, and sat down to focus his mind and meditate. Okay, so we have gone through this. People who have not participated in the previous sessions of the Diamond Sutra can go and read that. We will just quickly brush through the chapters so that we can go on our main chapter, that's chapter 9 and chapter 10 for today. Okay, so we know the first setting was, the message was very clear that we need to do our duty, and our duty is the primary responsibility. We have to do it ourselves. We cannot rely on anybody else to do that duty. Second chapter says, at that time the elder Subhuti from the great assembly arose from his seat, uncovered his right shoulder, knelt on his right knee, clasped his hand in respect and asked the Buddha, "How rare is the Bhagwan? the Tathagat is skillful in endorsing all bodhisattvas, skillful in teaching all the bodhisattvas. Bhagwan, when a virtuous man or a virtuous woman wishes to attain the state of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, how should they focus their mind and how can they control their thoughts? The Buddha said, excellent, excellent Subhuti. As you have stated, the Tathagat is skillful in endorsing all bodhisattvas, skillful in instructing the bodhisattvas. Now listen, and I shall explain to you how a virtuous man or a virtuous woman who wishes to attain the state of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi should focus their mind and control their thoughts. Yes, Bhagwan, I am glad to listen. So this is the setup where exactly there is an inquirer. Okay, Subhuti is asking Buddha, how does a virtuous man or a virtuous woman, the virtuous man or virtuous woman is the one who follows the Panchashil. So how one who follows the Panchashil can achieve the state of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, and he wanted to know how the Buddha can help such a person to focus their mind and control their thoughts. And Buddha agreed to answer that question, and then he continues. Buddha instructed Subhuti, Bodhisattvas and Mahasattvas should control their thoughts as follows. All types of beings, whether born from eggs, from wombs, from moisture, or by transformations, whether they have forms or are formless, whether they have thoughts or are thoughtless, have non-thought nor no non-thought, I shall lead them to perfect nirvana. Moreover, when these immeasurable, countless, infinite number of beings have been liberated, in actuality, no being has attained liberation, as all beings are name and form and just illusions. Why is this so? Subhuti, if a bodhisattva attaches to the name and form of selves, people, beings or existence, then she or he is not a bodhisattva. So very clearly Buddha explains who a bodhisattva is. He starts with saying that a virtuous man and virtuous woman, he replaces the word by using the word bodhisattva and mahasattva. So definitely one of the prerequisites for y'all to even qualify as a bodhisattva is to follow the Panchashil. Second is how not to be attached to any kind of form, maybe or name, even if it's for self, people, beings or existence itself. Chapter 4 says, furthermore, Subhuti, while practicing dharma, the bodhisattvas, when giving alms, should not attach to the form. Giving alms without attachment to form and giving alms without attachment to sound, odor, taste, touch or thoughts. Why is this so? If bodhisattvas give alms without attachment to forms, their merits are immeasurable. Subhuti, what do you think? The space in the east, can you measure it? It is immeasurable, Bhagavan. Subhuti, are the south, west and the north spaces, the intermediate directions, the zenith and nadir, measurable? They are immeasurable, Bhagavan. Subhuti, similarly, the merit received by bodhisattvas who give alms without attachment to form is immeasurable. Subhuti, the bodhisattvas should follow this teaching to focus their mind. So very simple, the conclusion goes that how to focus the mind is through not being attached. Okay, when you're doing your duty, when, for example, when bodhisattvas are actually affluent beings, so when they are giving something, if they are not attached to any name and form, they are not attached to the alms that they are giving, then the merits that they receive are immeasurable. Okay, and that's how you should focus your mind. Because when you have an attachment, thoughts come in. When thoughts come in, how to focus the mind? So when you have no attachment, no thoughts come in. And because no thoughts come in, you are able to focus the mind. Okay? Chapter 5, the real form of Buddha. Subhuti, what do you think? Can one see the Tathagat by his bodily forms? No, Bhagwan. One cannot see the Tathagat by his bodily forms. Why is this so? The bodily forms taught by the Tathagat are not forms. The Buddha said to Subhuti, all things that have formed are false and deceptive. If you see all forms as non-form, then you see the Tathagata. Now here is a very clear message of how not to have a fixed thought and idea about things that manifest, because they are ever changing. And Buddha is saying that if you want to see a Buddha, you cannot see him in a fixed form, because he is everywhere, in everything, in every reason, every cause, every effect, every condition. And hence, when you have to see him, you have to see him as a whole. You cannot see him as a part. Okay, very, very important. So that's how his real form is. Now, this is very important for us because it helps us to understand that conceptual thinking, when you develop concepts and you see the world based on concepts, you will always suffer. But if you experience life as it is, you see and you engage with life as it is, in situations as it is, circumstances as it is, face them, then you will never suffer. And if you are out of suffering, you are out of all the suffering in your life, you have basically achieved the state of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, because suffering is what we want to get out of. And this is how he's telling us that how to focus the mind and how to control your thoughts. The basic thing was by not being attached. Okay, then true faith is rare. 6th chapter, Subhuti addressed the Buddha saying, Bhagwan, will there be beings upon hearing these words and sentences believe it to be true? Now, you should also be aware that when the conversation began, there was just Subhuti asking Buddha a simple question. How do the bodhisattvas or the virtuous man and the virtuous woman attain the state of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi? How can they focus their mind and control their thoughts? This was it. And this could be answered in just a simple way. But Buddha is making sure that Subhuti is left with no doubt by the end of this sutra teaching. So he is keeping on questioning him and he is keeping on questioning Buddha. And they are making sure that there is no doubt left by the end of this sutra. So the reason we keep on reading this sutra again and again and again is so as to get the whole thing, the whole conversation understood, because there cannot be a part to this. You have to understand the whole thing, okay, and understand this as a whole. So the Buddha said to Subhuti, do not say so. In the last 500 years after my passing away, those who practice moral discipline and cultivate merit can have faith in these words and accept them as truth. You should know that they have not merely planted virtuous roots with one Buddha, two Buddhas, three, four, or five Buddhas. They have planted all kinds of virtuous roots with countless of numerous thousands of Buddhas. Any being upon hearing these verses and sentences will give rise to pure faith in just a single moment. Subhuti, the Tathagat, fully knows and fully sees that these beings shall receive countless merits. Why is this so? These beings no longer attach to self, people, beings, or existence, nor do they attach to dharma or non-dharma. Why is this so? If these beings are attached to names and forms, then they will cling to self, people, beings, or existence. If they attach to dharma, they will cling to self, people, beings, or existence. Why is this so? If they attach to false dharma, then they will cling to self, people, beings, or existence too. Therefore, one should not attach to dharma nor the false dharma. Based on this understanding, the Tathagata always says, monks, my teaching is like a raft to be discarded upon the shore. Even true dharmas should be discarded, how much more so the false dharmas. Here is a very clear indication that the Buddha himself is telling us that even the medium through which you get knowledge, you have to let go of that medium. Even his teaching is like a raft. Once you have crossed the ocean of ignorance and have come to a point of understanding, you need to let go of the medium through which you got that. For example, we respect and value the teachings in the Diamond Sutra. But if I start worshipping it rather than studying it, then it's a problem. we need to apply the teachings in our lives. We need to apply this knowledge that we get in the society to make others' life better. So everything is application. The Tathagata teaches no teaching. Subhuti, what do you think? Does the Tathagat attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi? Does he teach anything? Subhuti said, from my understanding, there is no fixed achievement called Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, and there is no fixed teaching that is delivered by the Tathagata. Why is this so? The teachings of the Tathagat can neither be taken nor described in words. It is neither a dharma nor a non-dharma. How is this so? All the sages have different approaches due to not attaching to any teaching. Here is about not having a fixed teaching. It cannot become a cult. It is something that dynamically changes. Depending on the person, the situation, the circumstances, you apply the teaching. Exactly like a doctor who knows all the herbs. And when he sees a patient, he makes his what we call the Upai Kaushalya or Yukti Praman, applies that to give the patient the right herbal combination so that he can be relieved of his suffering. Similarly, a teacher who has all the knowledge and all the skill should be like a doctor to apply and use the right combination of things so that he can take away the ignorance of the person, the student that comes to him. Okay, all Buddhas spring forth from this sutra. Subhuti, what do you think? If a person were to fill a Trisahasra, Mahasahasra, Lokdhatu with 7 kinds of jewels and give them as alms, wouldn't the merit attained by this person be great? Subhuti said, extremely great Bhagwan. Why is this so? This merit has no nature. Therefore, the Tathagat just mentions it is great. The Buddha said, if a person just practiced 4 lines of verses from this sutra and taught it to others, the merit would exceed that of the former. Why is this so? Subhuti, all the Buddhas and their Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi spring forth from this sutra. Subhuti, the so-called Buddha Dharma is non-Buddha Dharma. Very, very clear indication that where do the Buddhas come from? They come from understanding non-attachment, okay, not having a fixed idea, not having the concept of, something getting attached to self, beings, things, even existence itself. Now let's go to the chapter 9, the main chapter that we are going to study today, and chapter 10 also. 9. Form is not form. Okay. Now here we are going to, this is the heading that Dr. Lim has given for this chapter. But as we read, let's try to understand why did this particular name be given for this chapter. Subhuti, what do you think? You see, again and again, he's asking him, what do you think? That means one thing you should be able to understand. If you go and read the whole sutra, I don't know how many times, we need to actually find out how many times has Buddha questioned Subhuti, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Can you measure the east? What do you think, a virtuous man? He's keeping on asking him because the question itself, that how a virtuous man and a virtuous woman can attain the state of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi and focus their mind and control their thoughts, was a thought itself. And when Subhuti asked this, Buddha knew that the only way to relieve the thought is by questioning the thought itself. And so he's keeping on asking Subhuti, what do you think? Can a Stroto Apana think I have attained the Stroto Apana? And every time he's questioning him, he's also making sure that Subhuti and the listeners, they advance in understanding not only the simple thing, but the whole purpose of the sutra itself. So now we are suddenly introduced to something very, very important. He's asking Subhuti, can a Stroto Apana think I have attained Stroto Apana? Now Stroto Apana is basically, we call it a stream enterer. Now Strotas basically are channels. Okay, and Apana means to enter. Okay, so when we say the Stroto Apana is a state. So one who is on the path of becoming a Buddha has to become an Arahant first. And Arahant is divided into particular stages. The first step is the one who enters the stream through which he is going to begin his journey. Just like the rain, when the rain falls, all the drops are scattered here and there. But when they fall on the ground, they start coming together and they start forming small streams. All these streams, little streams, start moving up, down from the mountain. So these, similarly, from all our life experiences, from all our teachings, suddenly there comes a point we enter a stream. So this is how Buddha is, maybe the terminology at that time was Trota Apana, and there were people who were great, achieved this particular state. So Buddha is asking Subhuti, what do you think? Can a Strota Apana think I have attained this Strota Apana? Okay. Subhuti said, no, Bhagwan. Why is this so? Because Strota Apana means stream enterer. But there is no one to enter. One does not enter into form, sound, odor, taste, touch or thoughts. Just by name, one is called a Strota Apana. Very clear. So that was just a terminology. That was just a designation for somebody who achieved a particular state. Now, the raindrops that fell from the sky, they formed the small streams. They have not changed. Nothing has changed. Nothing has gone anywhere or come anywhere. They have just aggregated themselves or come together, and we have termed that as a stream. But technically, there is no such thing called a stream, right? So there is no one who is entering. There is not the raindrop that is entering that stream. It is that he has been called that only for the namesake. So just by name, one is called Strota Apana, because that is his state. Like a child, when I was a small child, everybody called me a child. When I became a young boy, they called me a young boy. When I became an adult, they called me an adult. When I'll be an old man, they will call me an old man. But have I achieved these states? No, they are just my states. And only because of my name, my form, my state, I am being called that. But technically, I am not entering into that. There's nothing that I am specifically doing that. So there is no one to enter. Okay, very, very clear. Subhuti, what do you think? Can a Sakradagamin think I have attained Sakradagamin? Now these words, Dr. Lim has kept it in the same form, in the same manner, so that there is the understanding that, okay, Sakradagamin means Sakradagamin. Subhuti, what do you think? Okay, can a Sakradagamin think I have attained Sakradagamin? Subhuti said, no, Bhagwan. Why is this so? Although the name Sakradagamin means go and come once, there is no one coming, there is no one going or coming. Just by the name, one is called Sakradagamin. Now, here again, these are designations. As you progress in your path of enlightenment or your own understanding, different stages and levels have been given. And so, the next level after the Strota Apana is Sakradagamin, means one's returner. But again, Subhuti confirms there is no one who is returning. Only for the name it is called so. Okay, because it's a particular stage. Okay, and that is why it is just for the namesake it is called Sakradagamin. Subhuti, what do you think? Can an Anagamin say, I have achieved the Anagamin? Subhuti said, no, Bhagwan. Why is this so? Anagamin means no return, but no one is non-returning. Therefore, just by name, one is called a Anagamin. Again, using the same explanation like the Strotapana, the Sakradagamin, Anagamin, we understand that this is another level. There is nobody who is not going to come. And there is nobody who is going once and coming. And there is nobody who is entering the stream. They are just for the name and the levels of their practice that they have achieved. We call them that, okay, they are at this stage. But technically, there is no one at that stage as such. Subhuti, what do you think? Can an Arhat, now here comes the thing. Can an Arhat think, I have attained the Arhat? No, Bhagwan. Why is this so? There is no such thing called as Arhat. Now here is saying, can somebody who is, an Arhat, think that he has become an arhat? No, Bhagavan. Why is this so? There is no such thing as arhat. He's saying there is nothing like that called arhat. Bhagavan, if an arhat should give rise to the thought that I have attained the arhat, this would mean that he is attached to self, people, being, or existence. Very clear. If somebody thinks I have achieved this state, at that point he is already attached to that state. And every time contextually he will speak. He will always say that I am this and in that context. So when somebody says I have achieved arhat, technically he is not, because he is attached to self, people, being, or existence. Bhagwan, you have said that I am the most proficient of all the Arana Samadhi practitioners, and that I am the arhat free from the desire. Now Subhuti is confirming this, as Buddha asked him, if the arhat who has achieved the arhat, has he, if he says that I have attained arhat, has he really attained the arhat? Subhuti confirms no. Then Subhuti again reminds Buddha, Bhagavan, you have said that I, Subhuti, the most proficient of all the Arana Samadhi practitioners. Arana means Aranya, basically the place where people practice a kind of a practice which people used to do in the jungles. So, Arana Samadhi practitioners. And that Subhuti, he is saying that you, Bhagavan, have told me that I am the arhat, free from the desire. But I never think that I am an arhat who is free from desire. He said, you might have called me many times this, that I am an arhat, I am the best, I am the... But I never have felt like that. Bhagavan, if I were to give rise to the thought that I have attained the arhat, even if you told me I am the best, I have achieved the arhat, I am free from desire, if I would think like that, then you would have said to me that enjoy the practice of arana, since there is actually nothing for me to practice. See, you are very clear. Bhagavan, if I were to give rise to the thought that I have attained the arhat, then you would not have said of me that I enjoy the practice of arana. Because if I get attached to this concept of that I am an arhat and I have attained that arhathood, then you would not have said, he said, then Buddha, you would have not have said to me that I enjoy the practice of arana, because only the one who is not attached can enjoy the practice of arana. So he's saying that you knew that I am not attached, that is why you are saying that I am the one who is enjoying the practice of arana. Actually, nothing for me to practice, when technically there is nothing for me to practice. But you are seeing that I am enjoying the practice of arana, but technically there is nothing for me to practice. Therefore, I am called Subhuti, the one who enjoys the practice of arana. Perfect example. Now we go back again to understand this. This is the crux of the whole conversation that is happening. Now, Bhagwan, you have said that I am the most proficient of all the Arana Samadhi practitioners, and that I am the arhat free from the desire. This is what Subhuti is telling Buddha, that you are the one who said, I am one of the most proficient of the Samadhi practitioners, the Arana Samadhi practitioners, and that I am the arhat, you have given me that terminology, free from desire. But I never think that I am an arhat who is free from desire. Whatever you said, but I never let that thought come to me that I am that. Bhagwan, if I were to give rise, he is confirming that he is telling, I don't think like that, because Bhagwan, if I were to give rise to the thought that I have attained the arhat, then you would not have said of me that I enjoy the practice of arana. You would have said, if I would have for even a moment thought that I have achieved arhat and I have I am the one who is attained that particular state, then you would not have said that I am the one who is actually enjoying that. Because for me, there is no arhathood. For me, there is no state. I am just doing things that I am supposed to do. I am practicing and practicing and practicing. But you are observing that and you have conferred me that name. And technically, I don't know whether that is true or not true, because I don't see myself as a one who has attained the state of arathhood, because for me, nothing for me to practice. Therefore, I am called Subhuti, the one who enjoys the practice of aranya. So that is why, because he is not attached to that even title given by the Buddha himself, he is saying he is called as Subhuti, the one who enjoys the practice of aranya. That means we would have different levels. We would have in Shunya the red belt. Okay, we say, hey, you have achieved red belt, good, congratulations. Then we say, you have achieved the orange belt, congratulations. Even if I tell somebody, even if I tell somebody you have become a Zen master, the person, if he thinks that he has become a red belt, an orange belt, a Zen master, technically he is not going to enjoy his practice anymore, because he will think he has achieved it. It's the end of the journey. But the one who continues to practice, even with all the titles that we give, okay, he still keeps on practicing his reverse count, his double count, his no count, his scanning. He keeps on practicing, always, always and always. He will enjoy the practice. And without doubt, the whole world will say, he is the one who is a true Shunya practitioner. He looks like a Zen master. It's the world who is going to call. And when you'll ask, are you a Zen master? I said, no, I'm nobody. I'm just practicing. That is how is what we call the state of what Subhuti is trying to explain. And this is exactly is the crux, the essence of this chapter. Okay, that means what the chapter began was form is not form. Means any form you see, any name you see, it's just given for some contextual reason, for some referential reason. It has no fixed meaning. It is always and always going to change. But today, I am Rajesh because my parents called me that when I was small. But I'm sure they did not just call me Rajesh. They would have given me another name. So they used to call me by my pet name. My friends used to give me another name. They called me another friend. So my school friends called me another name. When I go, I get a degree, I get a title, I become a doctor, I get another name. As I move on, my daughter calls me with another name, calls me a father or papa. I keep on changing. My brother, I'm a friend. These names keep on changing. But if I fix myself and I only hold on to that, then that will be very difficult for me to engage with the world. Hence, since we are engaging with a dynamic world, an ever-changing world, we need to understand that name and form are not fixed and they are always ever-changing. So even though you are being given a title, you pass out as an Ayurveda doctor. Yes, but that is just a title. You as an Ayurveda doctor will really be so when you go and treat people with herbs, educate people with the knowledge you have acquired. At that moment, when you start transforming others' life with what you have acquired, they will call you that you are an Ayurveda doctor, not you calling yourself who you are. So having that I am this, I am that, and I this doesn't actually mean you are, technically it means you are not that. When others call you that you are this, when others give you that terminology and you don't feel like it is so, that means that is the true name and form that you should see, not you what you hold on to your mind, okay, in your mind. Going to the 10th chapter, so adornment of the Pure Land. Okay, the Buddha said to Subhuti, what do you think? Another thinking question. Okay, what do you think? When the Tathagat was under Dipankara Buddha, did he gain any dharma? He's asking Subhuti, when this Buddha, okay, Sakyamuni Buddha was under Dipankara Buddha, did he gain any dharma? Now, this is a very clear message that every Buddha is preceded by a teaching Buddha who teaches him. Okay, so every process of understanding is actually preceded by a previous understanding. Every process of knowledge is preceded by a previous knowledge of things. So always and always remember that everything is interconnected. It cannot be separate. Okay, The Buddha said to Subhuti, what do you think? When the Tathagata was under Dipankara Buddha, did he gain any dharma? Bhagwan, when the Tathagata was under Dipankara Buddha, in actuality he gained no dharma. So, very clear. Did he gain anything when he was a student of Dipankara Buddha, Sakyamuni Buddha? He says no. Subhuti says he did not gain any dharma in actuality. Subhuti, what do you think? Does a bodhisattva adorn the land of Buddha? Now, the next question. Now we are moving a little higher up in understanding. He's asking, what do you think, Subhuti? Does a bodhisattva adorn the land of Buddha? Means, actually, the land of Buddhas are these places where bodhisattvas, they go and engage and help to transform the world, and they contribute in the world. So technically, if you look at this existence, we are all supposed to be bodhisattvas who help to transform the world into a beautiful world. So we are in the, you can say the pure land of Sakyamuni Buddha, this world, in which we are the bodhisattvas whom we should go and transform the world through our compassion, through our skills, and make sure that no species which does not have the skill of understanding like we have, no species here suffers. Not a single species goes through any kind of suffering or grief. That is true compassion a bodhisattva carries. So very, very true that when Buddha is asking Subhuti, what do you think? Does a bodhisattva adorn the land of Buddha? Subhuti says, no, he does not, Bhagwan. No, he does not, Bhagwan. Why is this so? The adornment of Buddha land is not adornment. Just by name, it is called adornment. Now he is making it very clear. Now he knows the Buddha is teaching using words. Buddha is teaching using references. And so he is making it very clear. Yes, you are teaching us about the Pure Land. You are teaching us about the Bodhisattvas adorning the Pure Land. But in actuality, there is no Bodhisattva who is actually adorning the land. There is no one whom you can call adornment, because this is only for the name's sake we are calling it adornment. And so, Subhuti, the Bodhisattvas and the Mahasattvas should give rise to pure heart in this way. Here comes that compassion, that you can say the spark of compassion. He's saying that because now you understand, Subhuti, that when I use a terminology, and you're not getting fixed to it, but you're understanding, you're taking the essence out of it. Subhuti, the Bodhisattvas and the Mahasattvas should give rise to pure heart in this way. Their heart should not attach to form, should not attach to sound, odor, taste, touch, or thoughts. By attachment to nothing, the pure consciousness arises. See, the bodhisattvas that adorn the land, adornment is just for the namesake. But when we as humans also are coming here, our job is to make sure that we carry the compassion for all beings. If we start differentiating, in the basis of your form, we start differentiating, and differentiation happens because of, why does it happen? Because of one simple thing, because of attachment. Attachment to what? Sound means your sensual attachment, all your six senses, sound, odor, taste, touch, or thoughts also. So when we get attached to the form, the sound, the odor, the taste, the touch, and even the thoughts, then we start differentiating. And because a bodhisattva does not get attached to any of these, he has this kind of he gives rise to a pure heart in this way, a feeling of a compassion. Okay, he did not call it love, it's called the heart. That heart, because love is still a feeling. Okay, heart is something that manifests from where things starts pumping, it starts giving. Life is symbolic because of heart, but suddenly consciousness, when we say that the person is conscious, is when the heart starts beating, when life starts coming into it. So exactly that's what Buddha is saying here is, Subhuti, the Bodhisattvas and Mahasattvas should give rise to pure heart in this way. Their heart should not attach to form, not attached to sound, not attached to odor, not attached to taste, not attached to touch or thoughts. By attachment to nothing, the pure consciousness arises, and that's where compassion is born. And when compassion is born, you will not let any kind of suffering to any being be witnessed by you. You will do your best to end that suffering. And that is where you will start engaging with the world. Subhuti, if a person is with a body as large as Mount Sumeru, what do you think? Would this body be not be huge? So now Buddha is giving an example of Mount Sumeru and saying that if somebody has a body as huge as Mount Sumeru, Mount Sumeru was another example that Buddha used to give of a huge mountain around which the whole universe moves around. So let's not go into that, but we do understand here is that Mount Sumeru is another example that Buddha is giving to compare somebody's body which is huge, and he's asking Subhuti, is that body an extremely huge body, or is it a huge body? Subhuti is saying extremely huge. If there is somebody like the body of the Mount Sumeru, we will call it extremely huge Bhagwan. Why is this so? Buddha said it is non-body. Just by name, it is called a huge body, but it is only for the namesake. So that brings us to the end also of the chapter, and the essence of these two chapters is very, very important. Now, when Buddha is talking about the Pure Land, adornment of Pure Land is very, very important. That means you look at this world today. This world, you should realize there is a difference between other species and us. And we have the ability to learn things. We have the ability to understand things, when we can upgrade ourselves. And that is why this human life of ours is a very, very valuable life. And that is why again and again the Buddha keeps on teaching us that you are basically my bodhisattvas, you are my mahasattvas, you are the ones who should practice the Shila, making sure that the species that is dependent on you, that responsibility that we have of taking care of the world around, the nature, these animals, is completely, he relies on us. And through us, it is our duty that we can, as compassionate beings, transform this world, bring a kind of bliss and happiness, make sure that we contribute in ending somebody's suffering in some way. Not only to the species that others are, but the problem is between our own human species. Our job begins from there. First, let us get our species in order. Our humans, everyone who are fighting and having conflicts and everything. If you want to make this land a pure land, a land where there is no suffering, the only and only way that you can do that is by taking the responsibility of ending somebody's suffering in a little way. And that is why a bodhisattva empowers himself by not attaching to any form of sound or form, any sound, any odor, any taste, any touch or thoughts. And because of non-differentiation, because of non-attachment, he is able to treat everybody equally. Because he treats everybody equally, he gives his 100% equally. He is doing his duty 100% without any discrimination. He is able to achieve immeasurable merits. With these immeasurable merits, he is able to purify himself, and he keeps on progressing on his journey. As soon as he enters the stage of Strotapana, he progresses to Shakradagamin. From there, he progresses to Anagamin. From there, he becomes an Arhat. From there, he progresses to achieve the next state till the time he becomes the Buddha himself. So this is our journey, and our journey is only and only through compassionate contribution to the society. And that's where we are. So thank you so much, and see you again.